What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. We're back Saturday evening. How is everybody feeling, man? Happy to see you guys in chat, man. Once again, run the likes up. If you're new here, support the show, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you guys every single week coming out, showing up. Appreciate you guys. The love, support every single week is awesome. Thank you guys so much, man. But let's go ahead and just dive right into it. We got an awesome guest. So I want to dive right into that right away, man, because I'm super, super excited to have his energy here. We got it's like having two Pongs on the show. And we'll get into that. We'll get into that. We'll get into that, chat. But shout out to chat. Shout out to everybody watching Shown 2 Mod of the Year. Everybody in the chat watching live. Once again, the link is out on Twitter. Let everybody know Shop Podcast is live. Come hang out with us. Hang out in the chat. We're talking games. We're having a whole lot of fun, man. What's up, K Asante? What's up, brother? Shout out to him. Shout out to Everborn Gamer Circle Podcast. Go follow that.
Big facts.
Big facts. But anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. So we're going to start with you, Still Rain guest.
Hey.
Man, appreciate you hanging out with the podcast, man. You guys doing your big show this morning, man. But let everybody know where they can find you and give everybody the info.
Look, man, it is I am him, the one and only Still Rain. And look, PTK, I just got to thank you for just sending the signal out to be on the Shop Podcast Kingdom. Look, man, I love y'all's opinions. Each one of y'all, Fuzzy, PTK, and even Centurion, shout out to him. Y'all have amazing opinions. You come from a different angle, and that's what gaming's about. I do host an amazing podcast with my brother from another Pong Soul. It's a non-console centric platform. We talk about everything that's going on in the industry. Again, like Phil said, we're trying to reach those 3 billion gamers, but at the same time, it's about the bigger picture. I like to take that real-time strategy view, that RTS view, for those who know, really pull myself out of the world, look in those darker places, and just analyze things a little bit differently than the typical person may. So that's me. Again, I'm also the other half of the energy that we provide on a weekly basis. But yeah, man, again, you got some wonderful topic here. We got a lot of amazing things going into 2022. You lined up some beautiful topics for us, so I'm excited to talk about that, man. So much love for having me here. Much love to the chat, and let's get to it.
Appreciate you, Stillman. Once again, you guys, please, if you're a fan of the channel, fan of the podcast, please do me a favor. Go follow Still Rain. All of that information down in the description below. I make it real easy. So please do me a favor. Shout out to Mav. Shout out to K Asante. Everybody hanging out in the chat. General Spartan 27. Shout out to you as well, man. Appreciate you guys. Let's get to my compadres here. What's up, Pong? Harvey? How you been? We coming through like we kind of on a hangover this week from last week's Fallout. Obviously, that big news. So, yeah. How you been this week, man? Recovering?
Doing good. Lots of little topics, but I thought I had enough of Steel this morning.
Oh my goodness.
Here I am again.
Guys, he waits till we get live to do this. He doesn't even.
This is how this goes. We gotta make this dramatic. We gotta get the chat involved. So again, buckle up. It's Steel. It's Pong. Living Split Screen has taken over the Shop Podcast. So PTK is going to log out. We're finally getting that coup done that we've been talking about for a couple months. It's over. It's been a nice run. It's going to be Living Split Screen Part 2.
I knew what happened at some point. I've been talking about this for like 6 weeks.
Anyway, it's been a fantastic week. But I do have to admit something. Steele's going to appreciate this because we talked about this. We've talked about this more than once, but feeling a little dirty tonight.
Oh God!
Oh
yeah. I dropped. I gave Take Two some more money.
Oh my God, Paul!
Wow.
NBA 2K22. Look, Steel. I had a busy day. The wife's going out of town on business, so we had a lot of stuff to get done.
So you made a bad decision.
So I just logged in real quick to pick up my dailies on NBA 2K. Well, they had a new box, man. They had a new box cards, and I didn't have enough VC left over for my major purchase. So I had to. It was on sale this week. It's on sale on Xbox Live. So anybody wants to know, it's 20% off.
Are you advertising?
No, I'm just letting everybody know.
Hashtag ad.
Yeah, so I had to drop another $15 in there. So yeah. But I got the game for free. But I am still feeling dirty because I hate doing
we're not
that.
letting this slide, chat. You got to talk about this.
Hey, I'm confessing sins right now. All right, you're all supposed to be understanding. You're supposed to say that's all right. Give me some kind of penance, whatever. But I it should be okay, right? So, anyways, other than that, it's been a fantastic week. I've been playing some more Extraction with my brother from Another Steel Rain here and Fun Speculation. Man, we got some of that in. We got some crazy stories from that too. But just an awesome time. Like I said, a lot of little stories this week after the Activision Blizzard thing. Like you said, PTK, it kind of a little bit of hangover, but man, still getting great news this week. So let's get down to it.
Let's get down to it, man. Shout out to Mav, Hem, Solo, K. Asante, man. Appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat. Shout out to Shown 2 Mod of the Year once again, man, holding us down every single week, mod in the chat, doing a damn good job. I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much, man. But once again, hit the like button if you're new here. If you're not new, subscribe. Appreciate everybody here, man. Once again, chat, let us know what is going on with you guys, man. So last but not least, we smoothed this thing out with Fuzz, man. How you been this week, Fuzz? Obviously coming off that big week last week. Lots of little stuff, important stuff, fun stuff.
Man, it's just been, I don't know. I guess I've been keeping a low profile, just still recovering from a cough that just will not go away. But outside of that, just playing my Insurgency Sandstorm like nobody's business, shooting insurgents or the enemy, depending on which side I'm on at the time, and man, collecting as many cards as I can. I think I'm like just shy of all 20, or I'm 29 shy of all the cards right now. So they just released like another 20. So it's like, it's going to take me a while to get those last few 20 or so. But man, good news going on. Got Steel Rain on here. Got Pong on here. Man, this is going to be a good one. This is going to strap in for the ride, guys, because this is going to be a good show. But man, I can't wait to talk about these topics. So let's get right into it.
Let's get right into it, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat once again. I see you, Ashtray. Appreciate you, bro. I got the DM, by the way, Ashtray. Check your DMs because I made sure I replied back to you, brother. So hit me back. But shout out to everybody watching. Appreciate the love, support. Hit the like button once again if you have not already. Let's dive into the topic. So you know what we do, man. Every single week, poll of the week on my Twitter account. So please, if you don't mind, go follow me. If you want to be a part of that, man, I do a poll of the week, and then we talk about it here on the show every single Saturday. What's up, She Snow? Appreciate you, bro, in the chat. I see you down there holding us down again every single week. But let's go ahead and just dive right into the poll of the week. And this actually was really surprising. Me and Still talked about this pregame, right? And it was pretty surprising, considering when I make the polls, I generally feel like I kind of know which way the polls are going to go. This one was actually really surprising. So, poll of the week was, what old IP from Activision Blizzard should Xbox revive? That's a big thing coming off of last week's news. We've kind of been trying to figure out how that's going to work out. So I threw out a couple options. Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk, Pro Skater, Guitar Hero, and Prototype. Prototype actually won with 37%. That's actually really surprising for me. Just because out of the four, I thought it was at least the least notable out of the four, in my opinion. So it actually won 37%. So we actually going to start with you. Steel Rain, get your quick opinion on the poll of the week this week. Was it surprising? Kind of which one would you vote? Even if it's not on the list, kind of where would you go with the IPs? And once again, chat, let us know as well how you guys feel about the poll of the week. But let's start with you, Steel Rain.
Yeah, man, that is super surprising. Again, like we kind of had talked about in the background and everything, I just wasn't expecting that the hype train for Prototype would be there still, man. I mean, I played the first game, and it was a solid title. I never had a chance to jump into the second one, but my brother spent a lot of time within those work because he genuinely loved those games. So I guess I get the hype behind them. But man, when you put them next to those other hitters, it's just kind of like, out of all of them, y'all really want to bring Prototype back? And again, I mean, there's a lot of it has a deep combat system with the expansive world. The story was interesting, and they have a lot of different ways that they can end up taking that, especially with it now being in house. So I don't know, man. I definitely would be interested to see it come back, especially on current gen consoles. There's so much more they could do. That could be something like Microsoft Spider-Man in some way, shape, or form. We were talking about that in the background too, because it definitely has some of those same aspects as far as like getting around the city and whatnot. But just more on a supernatural, more so level than anything. But yeah, man, that's super crazy to me. I wasn't expecting that one.
No, absolutely. So once again, I'm thinking either Guitar Hero or like Crash Bandicoot are going to run away with it. Ultimately,
like
just because of the popularity of the other games and Prototype. I mean, it's a great game, but once again, I don't think it had. I don't think it was quite that big. Even at the time, even at its peak, it was a solid game. I enjoyed it. I know a lot of people did, but it wasn't something that anybody was really clamoring for. They made a second one. Obviously, the second one, I wouldn't say it wasn't as good, but it didn't really push the franchise. I would say push the IP. It didn't really, and then they didn't make another one after that. So, but yeah, so that was a big surprise to me. And once again, chat, let us know which one would you guys vote for if you guys had to vote on the poll of the week, where you guys are at with that. So, let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Pong. Harvey, where are you at with this, man? The poll of the week. Which ones you vote for? Is yours not on the list?
No, I stayed within the rules this week.
Okay,
so I did. Yeah, I know. But every once in a while, you have the correct answers. You've been doing better lately, PTK. So it has been easier to actually vote.
Here we go.
I get criticized every week on this poll of the week. This is ridiculous.
No, it's not ridiculous. Your polls are ridiculous sometimes. But no, you've been doing really good. I'm trying to give you a little cake.
I'll take it.
Okay?
I'll take it.
Yeah, flowers, cake, whatever you want. All right. Look, not surprising. I did vote Prototype. So I did go with that. Yeah. The thing for me is I think this poll shows the desire for that superhero-esque type game. And I think that people, even though Prototype was certainly by no stretch of the imagination the biggest game when it was out, it definitely had a popularity to it. But I think when people see that name, they remember that. And when they think about Xbox, that's one of those genres that's missing. We've had plenty of discussions about this. Again, I've said they don't need a superhero game to survive. Xbox is going to be just fine the way they are. Mm-hmm. But given the option, yeah, I think a lot of people would love to see something like that here. Yeah. And I think Prototype fits that perfect kind of bill. When you take a look at it, like you said, they could take it a lot of different ways, right? That story, 100%. Again, this is one of those IPs that's been gone for so long. It's almost like a brand new IP. So if they want to reboot it, give it a new, a brand new story, kind of keep some of the basics there, but, maybe change up some of the powers, whatever. Yeah, you could have a really solid third person, fun action superhero-esque type game. And I think that's what people, get clamoring for. They see, what Sony has done with Spider-Man and now Wolverine's been announced. And I just think there's some real true desire there to see something like that on Xbox. Yeah, the desire to see it. Popular word these days, by the way. Thanks, Phil. So yeah, no, I wasn't really surprised. I think it's a great pick. And look, Phil, Xbox, Greenberg, whoever's watching the show, look at PTK's little survey there. Take it to heart. Because I think, again, we've talked about all these IPs, right? And Prototype gets passed over because there's so many IP there. But at the end of the day, like, they really do have an opportunity to go back in these catalogs, even their own catalog, and bring some of this stuff forward now if this acquisition goes through, because they're going to have so many devs, so many teams. And as we see with Certain Affinity, they can even go outside and get somebody else to do something.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to
real
that.
Easy, right? Yeah, exactly. So they just got a real opportunity here to really round out that diversity of the lineup that they currently have and expand it even further with a lot of this IP that's just going to be sitting in their laps, waiting to be unwrapped and put back out there for everybody to play. So I can't wait to see what they do.
Awesome. Yeah, they got a lot to like. There's a lot there, and I think people don't realize, what possibly can happen. So a game like Prototype, and I think the interesting thing that you said, Pong, is that type of game fits a I guess lane that Xbox doesn't really have. As far as like their what they have as far as their lineup. So
yeah, let me just add this. Let me add this real quick, PTK. On top of what you just said, let me just add this real quick too. Prototype was a lot like Infamous from Sucker Punch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And Infamous, people have been clamoring for Infamous to come back on Sony side. It wasn't the biggest seller, but I loved both. I loved all the Infamouses. Actually, even the smaller one, what was it called?
First Light?
Yeah. Loved them. And again, you bring back Prototype, and again, you could just reboot it, give it a little change, but you have something like that. You in that game. It's a very similar style game. I'd love to see it. God, I would just love to see it.
Oh yeah. So it's a unique game, but like you said, just depending on what they want to do with the story, where they want to take it, it's a lot there that they can work with. So let's go ahead and get this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion on this. This poll of the week. Where are you at with it, man? Did you choose one of the options, or is your option not there?
I didn't follow the rules. I went with E. I said all the above, but in all honesty, the options that I would like to see them, some of the older IP that I'd like to see them bring back aren't even on the list, like True Crimes or Gun. I mean, everybody's talking about, Microsoft should acquire Take-Two next. It's like, well, if you make True Crimes, there's no need for GTA, and if you acquire Gun, if you bring back True Crimes, nobody has to worry about GTA 6, and then if you bring back Gun with a kind of like a twist to it, then you don't have to worry about Red Dead Redemption either. So I think those would be two titles I'd like to see them bring back and put a lot of time and money and effort into making those or fleshing out those stories to something a little bit, not necessarily more modern, but just something a little bit more current day, I guess you could say. I mean, the original True Crimes are awesome, but doing a new one now, maybe set somewhere else in the US or somewhere else outside the US, and or actually
beating both of those drums
Tokyo.
every show, Fuzzy.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's a great point.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
So those are my choices. I hope they look at those, but everything that you had on the list, definitely solid choices. I mean, they're definitely going to have to do something with Crash Bandicoot. They're definitely going to have to do something with Tony Hawk, because if I'm not mistaken, he was the one that was more willing for a new game as opposed to Activision. Activision was kind of the ones was like, and then they did the remaster. But yeah, I think that's all of those choices on there are good options, and I'm kind of surprised by Prototype as well. But now you like kind of link it to Infamous and how that would be a series that Sony should consider bringing back as well. It kind of makes sense now, especially the whole kind of superhero genre, even though it's not technically a superhero, but along those lines type of deal.
The other thing too, it's just a crazy thing to think about. Just a little bit of research real quick, but it also apparently Prototype 2 was competing with Dragon's Dogma at the time, and actually beat it in sales around the month of April when it came around that month. So I guess people did have some love for it, and then the first one sold about over 2 million copies. So there is something there.
Yeah. Sure. No, definitely. I mean, the poll shows it. It was surprising to me after I saw the results earlier today when my phone, sent me that notification. I'm like, wow, that's actually, I didn't know that many people. One, I weren't aware that many people actually played Prototype, first of all. Because, I mean, I didn't realize it was even that successful. You just brought it up, right? The fact that it did outsell Dragon's Dogma, which is another IP that people are clamoring for to come out. Shout out to, what was BioWare? Is that BioWare?
No, Capcom.
No, Capcom. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Capcom, and it's supposedly number 2's in the works.
So that's a collab. That needs to come back.
It's so good.
So we'll see how that goes. We'll definitely see how that goes. But chat, once again, poll of the week every single week on Monday on my Twitter. Go follow me All of that information down in the description below, man. You know how we start the show, grease the wheels. Going to do some quick shout outs, Mr. Kima. Once again, K Asante. I did see She Snow, Retro Nerd. Appreciate you guys dropping in. Hit the like button as you guys are falling in, man. Wipe your feet. Appreciate you guys. Go sit on the new furniture. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today, man. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic, man. So we're diving all the way in here. We're feet first in the meat now. So pause.
Ooh.
Pause.
I was just gonna say, wow.
Yeah, but anyway,
that's funny.
Moving on. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about Respawn. So makers of a little game called Apex Legend, a little game called Star Wars Jedi. So just awesome games. Just they do awesome work. Titanfall.
Mm-hmm.
So they do awesome work. Phenomenal. They've gone in and actually in my opinion, they saved EA. Saved EA. So they saved EA. That they put EA on their back and said, "Come on, we'll drag you to some profitability. We'll drag you to some, actually high quality games, some high quality IPs." So I think they really came in and transformed that entire company. He's pretty much running the company.
If they don't erect a Zempella statue, the people should razz that entire complex if they don't erect a Zempella, because you're right, PTK, he did.
Yeah,
single-handedly.
Yeah, pretty much. So they're making 3 new Star Wars games. It is confirmed. So first thought, Still Rain. My first thought, awesome. I love it. Fallen Order was amazing, right? Got a lot of critical praise. The game sold well, did well, ultimately. So, and then thinking about it, I'm like, wait a minute. Are they Call of Duty and are they Activisioning, this studio Respawn to do like particular stuff? Like they're just going to be the Star Wars company? Like they're just going to do Star Wars? So,
yeah.
After that, once again, this is me thinking about it for a little bit. Consider, I'm like, wait a minute. I mean, they can do. I don't know how big Respawn is currently. They're a fairly large company, so I don't know how many teams they have working on different games. But to me, after thinking about it, I'm like, man, I don't know. That's all they're gonna do. That's it for the next, few years. So I don't know. Where you at on this, Rain?
For me personally, I mean, I see where your worries are as far as that goes, but I mean, let's be honest, coming off the heels of Fallen Order, I don't think that they're looking at the Star Wars series and saying, "Oh man, I got to work on Star Wars. I guess I got to do this again."
No, I don't think so either.
I mean, the first one was done very well, and they had a lot of story to tell there. As a matter of fact, it's definitely one that I need to actually get into and beat the second half of it. But it was one of those that I definitely bought day one, and they're going to do the same thing when they put out the sequel. I'm a Star Wars fanatic, so it's like anything involving it, I definitely want to jump in neck deep. I think the most important thing, though, is just the pedigree of Vincent Pella himself, coming from COD and then now coming into Titanfall. You were just able to see he has the know-how, and he knows what he's doing. And the fact that I feel like he more so has weight to throw around within EA, which is also the reason why I feel like this wasn't just, hey, I need you to work on this because this is what we need from you. It was more so like, hey, Vince, by the way, we got these 3 games that could use your help with. And it was like, yeah, just throw those my way. I'll take care of those. Especially with them doing a Star Wars first-person shooter, because I definitely want to see what they're going to do with that. Is it going to be like a Battlefront? Or how they're going to do that? Is it going to be more small? Is it going to be smaller? Is it going to be? Are you going to use more of the normal people instead of using the Jedis and everything? Because I mean, lightsaber duels could be pretty dope in first person.
Yeah.
But I just can't. I can't picture how that would end up being. I've seen VR versions of things like that. But I don't know. So that's going to be interesting to see. I'm extremely interested in the Fallen Order sequel. I want to see where they end up taking that story.
That is one of the 3, by the way. I forgot to throw that in.
Yeah, 100%. And then to also see that they're trying to do a strategy game also. It's just, there seems like a lot to be on the plate, but at the same time, EA has time. EA is still a powerful force in our industry, and if there's anybody that's going to make it shake and get them to be more noticeable and more recognizable as we move into the future, is going to be Vincent Pella, and I feel like that's the reason he was given that mantle. So I'm nothing but excited. I'm glad to see this going to be in good hands with Respawn. Again, yeah, we're not going to get a Titanfall 3, but who knows? That Star Wars first-person shooter could be that Titanfall 3 that we're looking for. So
could be. That's interesting too. Like you said, there's a lot on the table here, and I love the fact that. So I do enjoy. It makes me happy to see that those games are going to be handled by Respawn, because it gives me hope that those games are actually going to be quality games. So
100%.
Because everything Respawn, there, to me, in my opinion, what they've been able to do over the last 2 to 3, 4 years with between Titanfall and Star Wars and everything, pretty much everything else they've touched, Apex,
yeah.
Everything's been gold. Them and like Insomniac, everything they've touched has just turned to gold essentially. So it excites me that Star Wars is finally going to get the attention and the quality control that it deserves, because that wasn't what the franchise was getting previously. So I'm happy about that. But once again, there's always that Titanfall 3 further and further away. Not even that was even going to be a thing, right? Because there was no indication that they were even going to go back that direction. Ultimately, your Titanfall 3 is Apex. So if that,
that's true.
So and that just continues to get updated over time, if we're being honest. I mean, who knows? Maybe they do decide at some point to do a standalone Titanfall game again. We'll see. But let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz, man. We're going to change lanes a little bit here. Where you at on this, man? Where you at on quality control?
Well, considering how well they did with the first, was it Jedi Fallen Order? Having a 2 was like, I don't like using the word inevitability, but I'm so glad that it's now a known quantity, a greenlit project that hopefully will be coming out this holiday. But fingers crossed type of thing. Considering that back in the day, EA was like, oh, single player story type or single story driven narrative games aren't really selling that well. It seems like we're going to move into the whole multiplayer genre and focus on that. And Vince kind of told him, I'm not using that piece of crap Frostbite engine, and he kind of allowed him to use Unreal Engine for it and things like that. I think those things definitely help with that particular Star Wars title, and I'm glad that
threw
they're
his weight
still,
into that one.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they're still getting some of the Star Wars games. They lost their exclusivity as far as the licensing, which in the grand scheme of things, I think is a good thing.
That's a good thing.
It should be nice. It should be something that companies compete for or bid for, and based on their performance, you either hold on to the license or you get kicked to the side type of thing. So if they're doing a good job with the Star Wars license, then by all means give them more things to work on. First person shooter version or first person perspective one, I'm curious to see what that winds up being, if it is going to be like a smaller form of like a Battlefront type game, or if it's going to be something completely different. Few people are hinting or wishing into existence that it's like a Mandalorian game or something along those lines, or maybe a Boba Fett type game type of deal. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, that would be very timely, but we'll let's see. But as far as a strategy game, I think that's another nice alternative that they're going to try. Sometimes strategy games don't necessarily blend well with like other mechanics. Like I know there's still that thing about the Midnight Suns as far as like with the Marvel license and that being a strategy game, but with cards kind of thing, and everybody's kind of iffy as far as how that's going to turn out. But I'm curious to see if this is going to be something more XCOM like, but in the Star Wars universe. I'll be all for it. But
that would be interesting.
But
that could work.
But given how Respawn is like you said, everything they seem to touch turns to gold, even though yes, it doesn't necessarily always sell as well because of other factors.
Titanfall
like
2
EA.
was amazing. I don't give a damn what anybody says.
Well, the drawback was you had Titanfall 2 came out at the same time as Battlefield. So what was it, Battlefield 1 or something like that, I think, at that point. And they basically butchered themselves on that whole release schedule. But everything else they've done as far as the quality of the game, the quality of gameplay, the modes, the character design, the level design, they've always done a bang up job on that stuff. So having them handle these, 3 Star Wars licenses, I think is going to be a good thing, going forward. And let's just see how, if they keep on putting more stuff on Respawn and, Vincent Pella's plate, and hopefully some of this, I won't necessarily say talent, but as far as like the execution of things starts to leak over to BioWare and some of the other, EA studios and things. Not that they're lacking anything, but it just seems like the past few things BioWare have kind of done outside of the remaster of the Legendary or Mass Effect Legendary Edition, they've kind of not hit on all cylinders or made a few misses as far as how they handle.
We're not going down that road, okay?
Anthem.
We're gonna leave that. What? Excuse you.
But yeah, Respawn handling this stuff. Yeah, more power to them. I can't wait to see what these games look like, especially Fallen Order 2. That's the one I'm really looking forward to.
Put it this way: if Respawn had done Anthem instead of BioWare, Anthem would be a hit game.
We'd still be playing it.
We'd still be playing it right now.
I'm not going to speak ill of Destiny, but I know Division would be on its last lifeline at that point, because they just abandoned that thing for, what was it, Avatar, and haven't seen that lately. And I think they're now working on Star Wars instead of a Division 3. So, but that's part of that license thing. So hopefully Massive will do a much better job with that license compared to the way Battlefront was handled in the past. So we'll see.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and get this over to you, Pong. Get your opinion, man. Once again, Vince, big daddy Vince over there throwing his weight around. He stepped in the room and was like, "Excuse me, we're not using that trash engine. Get that out of here, okay? That's not touching my game." So that's the first thing that has to go. So yeah, he definitely came in there and changed the entire culture. But where we're at on this this update, this news that Respawn is doing 3 Star Wars games.
Huge. And this fits perfectly in because Steele and I, during our nearly 4-hour show this morning, didn't even touch on this until the end. So this is perfect. I have not had a chance to really discuss this. Look, I keep saying it's the golden age of gaming, right? And I think the licensing aspect of Star Wars games is a big indicator of that. We used to get Star Wars games all the time. Granted, they weren't good, right? A lot of them, but we did get some very good Star Wars games out of there. So the fact that Lucas opened all this up and that EA wasted their exclusivity deal this entire time, but they still convinced Disney and Lucas to give them another shot, and not just one shot, but 3 shots at this, speaks volumes. And I think that's a credit to Zampella. And his team. Again, he's one man, but let's put it this way. Look, this is Zampella was obviously a big piece of the Call of Duty puzzle, right? Back in the day. He was obviously, we can see at this point, one of the best leaders. And he's proven it yet again by taking Respawn to these heights with his time at EA, right? And so they've given him Dice LA, which is now Ripple Effect Studios. He's taken over the Battlefield franchise. Hopefully he can do something there. He's got a lot on his plate. I looked it up in 2019. They were at about 315 employees at Respawn. Got to imagine that they're probably over 400, approaching 500 by this point. I got to imagine they were ramping up. I know they've been hiring. So I can imagine they're closer to 400, if not over 400 at this point. So they do have a pretty big studio. And obviously the strategy game is being done by Bit Reactor. So he's going to be overseeing it, but Bit Reactor is a studio that was formed by a group of lead developers that were from Firaxis, which is the original creators of XCOM.
Nice.
So he's already got, he's going to oversee that project. He's obviously going to have a little, input and make sure it's on track and all that kind of stuff. But he's got a veteran team in Bit Reactor, even though they're a newer studio.
And that lines up with the XCOM prediction.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll dive into that one first, since I brought that up, as far as the strategy game goes. So with this team, Greg Forsch is the co-founder, and he was a art director on XCOM Enemy Unknown and XCOM 2. And he had this quote when they talked to him about his studio and what they're going for. He said, as game genres of all types see refreshed takes in this new generation of technology, one thing is clear in that the turn-based tactic games have been greatly overlooked. Oh, he's speaking my language right now, and have an enormous amount of room for innovation. We have a very team-oriented culture, and we've assembled an amazing group of talented, experienced, and dedicated game developers to inject rich storytelling, immersive presentation, and rock-solid game mechanics to give the genre its rightful time to shine. A golden age of turn-based games is upon us. Yo,
that's music to your ears.
Oh,
you're over there
music
floating.
to my ears.
You're not even touching the chair, are you?
No, I'm not. And Fun Speculation, shout out to Mav, is feeling the same way right now. Look, RTS's strategy games, they have been overlooked, especially on console. Obviously, PC is flooded with them. They've gotten some amazing titles out of it, but the console market, underappreciated, right? And it is niche. But Star Wars fits perfectly into that type of game. So I cannot wait to see what this group at Bit Reactor comes up with for Star Wars. It's a clean slate. There hasn't been, I can't think of a Star Wars strategy game. I'm trying to think. I don't remember one, an actual turn-based strategy game. I don't remember one. Maybe there is one out there. Look, they got a clean slate. So. They can write this, make this how they want to, and it could be absolutely simply amazing. And I have a lot of faith coming from XCOM developers for sure. So fantastic news to my ears. First person shooter. Look, they got a bunch of different ways they could go with this, right? They already have 3 IPs that are beloved by the Star Wars fans from the past that have not been touched in a very long time. You got Dark Forces, you got Jedi Knight, and you got Republic Commando. Okay?
Yeah.
All of those are ripe to come back in some shape or form. And again, clean slate. These are old IPs. They're beloved, but they haven't been touched in a long time. You can reboot them. You can rework them, and they'll be fresh and new for a lot of people, and you can keep that same magic that those original ones had, and you will have an instant fan base just by the name alone. And obviously, with Respawn directly working on this and how well received Titanfall was and has been, I have zero doubt that they can't pull this off. And you throw some Titanfall tech, mechanics into one of these first-person shooters.
That's what I'm talking about.
We could have one of the best mobility. Look, Jedis could feel like Jedi.
Yep.
Right? Jedis could actually move like a Jedi.
Good point.
With that Titanfall mechanic, right? Bounty hunters with jetpacks. Bro, you got it all right here. And we still don't know what it's going to be. They could be doing something completely different. They could be doing something new. I'm just saying that if you look at the history of Star Wars, they've got 3 first-person shooter ones. None of them have been done since the originals. Obviously, Jedi Knight got a 2. But, Republic Commando and Dark Forces, neither one of those got sequels. They could do this right, and you've got an instant. The Star Wars license is gold, still to this day. It's gold if you do it right. It does not matter if you come out and have a great game, you're going to sell like bonkers. Case in point, Jedi Fallen Order, right? This is what put Zempella on the map. This is what gave him the power he now has within EA. This was going to be like one of the last games that EA, looking at what they were kind of moving towards, was going to do as a single player game, single player experience with no microtransactions, right? They were moving in that Ubisoft direction almost fully. He comes along, him and his team put together Jedi Fallen Order and changed the minds of the upper management at EA because they looked at the success of that title, even though it got snubbed from the Game Awards, right? The sales were off the charts. It continued to sell. It had long legs. People were still finding that game a year later as more and more people talked about it and said how great it was. People started jumping into it and realizing that it should have been up for Game of the Year, right? So That's what he does. So to finally hear the official announcement, which we all assumed was happening in Jedi Fallen Order 2, as the final game that I'm going to cover here in this trifecta, it's perfect. It's great. I'm glad we finally got the announcement. Again, we all kind of assumed it was being made. There was no way EA was going to let that IP sit there. And so I can't wait to see what they do with it. It's such a great job the first time out. As we know, with an experienced team like Respawn, you can expect bigger and better and even more polished than the first one had. All they really got to do is change the map system, because the map system was terrible. Other than that, they're going to take all the lessons from the first one, make it bigger and better. And I expect nothing less than another Game of the Year contender coming out of Jedi Fallen Order 2 from this team. So you've got 3 possible home runs with the Star Wars name all over it, which is, again, done right, gold. Absolute gold. And I'm saying that because EA cares about the sales. EA, this is not a fun little side project. EA expects these things to sell. Look, They picked out the right teams to do this. Again, the strategy one's going to be a little niche. They know that. That's not a problem if it's done right by that XCOM group, that XCOM group. Look, again, if they're shooting for the stars with their studio over there, and they want to change how people view strategy games, I'm all about it. So yeah, this really excites me. Obviously, again, not every game's going to be a hit. I'm hoping every game's a hit. Obviously, I'd love to just get nonstop hit Star Wars games that appeal to me. It would be heaven for me. I hope Massive's game is fantastic too, from the Division team. I can't wait to see what the Snowdrop does for Star Wars. But at the end of the day, if we are getting this many games that we just know about now, just think about through this generation what Star Wars licensing is going to be like. I can't wait. If not everyone's a hit, that's okay. If we go back to the days where a lot of people are trying new stuff with Star Wars and there's some misses, that's okay, as long as we are getting a variety of hits. And I think this is the start of it right here. Love to see this.
And I love that. I love to hear that, because you get a lot of Star Wars purists that they're pretty rigid on, Star Wars. And they're like, nah, we need KOTOR.
I'm rigid with the movies. Don't get me wrong. I'm rigid with the movies, but yeah,
no, I get it, but there are a lot of fans that translates to gaming as well. There's a lot of fans that are very purist when it comes to Star Wars and the IP. So I do like the idea. One, obviously, you hand Vince Zampella the keys. Everything Respawn has touched has been, great. It's been amazing. It's been pretty much a hit thus far. So I think that's going to continue, and you really couldn't give it to a better team at this point in time. So I get, I'm a big Titanfall 2 fan. Like, I think Titanfall 2 probably has the greatest first person, and this is one of the greatest first person shooter campaigns ever. It's right up there with Halo to me. It's that great. In my opinion, I may be on the outside looking in, but that game was fucking amazing. And for them to turn around and do that with a Star Wars IP that was floundering up until that point, nobody had nailed Star Wars. Battlefield, came out the gate. Battlefront 2 came out the gate, stumbling with all of the microtransaction stuff, and it had to essentially go back and completely throw that stuff out the game just to get people to come back and play. So that stumbled out the gate. So just see them finally do right by Star Wars is good. So hopefully that continues. But let's go ahead and move on to the next topic.
To Mav, though, he is correct. Mav,
oh yeah.
You already know I agree. No card system. Do not bring card systems into my strategy games. Please don't. That Marvel game was looking fantastic. Midnight Suns was looking. Me and Mav were so hyped for that game, and then they put the card system in there. And we're like, what? Why? This is stupid. So I agree, Mav. I agree.
Oh, once again, see, you guys are way bigger RTS fans than I am, so that's something that you guys definitely. So I'm gonna concede that to you and Mav. Shout out to Mav in the chat. Shout out to FSP. Great show yesterday, by the way. Go follow that link. Go to Mav's channel. Go watch it. Phenomenal show. They do a great job over there. Shout out to Mav, Caitlin, Assassin, everybody that was there. Psycho, you, Pong, obviously. Everybody that was there hanging out, man. You guys are amazing. Shout out to Boba Fett too, hanging out with us. Appreciate you, brother, for hanging out in the chat. But yeah, no, so let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. So we're talking a little bit more about Game Pass. Now, I'm kind of off the Activision Blizzard thing for right now. I'm kind of off that. So we're going to focus on the Game Pass aspect, because I think that's been the biggest driving force of all of these acquisitions. right? That's the engine that's kind of pushing the entire vehicle that is Xbox at this point. So I want to start with you still, because people don't want to admit this, but first shot, not necessarily saying that, I mean, this is maybe a little bit console war type shit, and but we ultimately, the first things I think Sony missed was Game Pass. I think that was the first, like, Sony was like, oh, that's cool, we're not going to worry about that. I think that was their biggest mistake. Like, they didn't even respond to Game Pass. Game Pass came out when did we get the announcement? 20 what?
So wasn't that in 2017?
17, 18?
I believe it was that same year that they ended up putting it together. Yeah, I believe it was 2017.
And they didn't respond. They didn't respond to it. They didn't move. Nothing really happened. Like, okay, cool, that's cool. And now it is what it is. It's almost damn near 30 million strong, and it's getting bigger every year. It's getting more prominent. So I want to talk a little bit about the impact and the influence that Game Pass has had on the Activision deal. Ooh. And like, how do they work together?
Oh man. Just to get a correction on that date, that was it came out June 1st of 2017.
Okay, see, 2017, even earlier than I thought.
Right. So to be completely honest, I mean, if you really want to look at the way that Game Pass was set up, I feel like Game Pass was more, and I'll kind of just move down the line and as I talk about it, because it definitely is going to get to a point to where it's something that I've been banging a drum on, and that's going to be accessibility, which is, I feel like, the biggest point of why Game Pass exists. But so let's just start with this. PS Now released in 2014. I feel like Xbox's reaction to that, because of everything that they were going through, coming off the heels of the 360, going to the Xbox One generation, PlayStation had some things really working in their favor, especially with including PS Now, them really getting to the game as far as charging people to play online and everything else. And then giving people something else other than just your online service. Sure, you had your games with gold that's kind of always existed and everything, but I feel like Game Pass was more just a reactionary move to that in the beginning. Although I also see it as more so that's something that Microsoft's seen as an opportunity. And I know we always give the credit to Phil, although there was more people in play during the time that had hands in Game Pass's birth than just him. But of course, we're always going to give the credit to Phil because he's the guy that's leading everything now at this point, especially with being the head of Microsoft Gaming. But Game Pass has done something significant to the industry that has made people second guess their purchases. And that's the most apparent thing that we're seeing more and more as we go throughout the years. In the beginning, everybody had a doubt on Game Pass. There wasn't really that much value to be had within it. And then as we move through the era and you see the Gears of War come in there, where you get Gears 5, for an example, you got that day and date in Game Pass along with all DLC, and you didn't have to pay an extra $1 for it. And you also got some benefits in there with it. Game Pass has become a disruptor to a point that, especially the competition, and not saying that they got to look at it now, because when you're looking at the opposite side of the fence, you see that your competition has always had IPs that have made you look over at yourself and say, what are we really offering? And then when you also look at that same space of 2017, when you had 5 studios, and then you're getting to a point to where now, because of Game Pass, because you need software within your service, you see that Microsoft has over 32, yeah, which is a huge difference. And I think a lot of people, because here recently I see, a lot of people are speaking up about, monopolies, like all these conversations that are coming back up. And really the reason they feel that way is because the value is undeniable. At this point, as a gamer, to each their own. If you got plenty of time to play all the games in the world, shout out to you. I can salute you. I can go buy you a coffee or something. But Game Pass has demonstrated to me that the typical consumer has an out where I did not when I was younger. You know how bad I would have bagged for a service similar to this when I was coming up in the early 2000s, there I could just tell my parents, hey, you just pay 10, 15 bucks a month instead of waiting X amount of time to spend $60 on one game.
Yeah.
And then that's the only game that I had for such a long time. That was part of the reason why I've been a PvP gamer for such a long time. I mean, other than I was on PC also, but that's just what I enjoy. But part of that is because I know with PvP games, I'm not just getting the story that I'm done with it, because I have a bad habit of that. And I'm really bad about once I play something, I'm done with it after that point, unless it has something else to offer me.
Exactly.
And that's what Game Pass has done for me. Because I have been that PvP gamer and have skipped over games that I had no interest in previously, because I'm subscribed to this service, because it's part of my, let's be honest, I've been paying for Xbox Live Gold for Lord knows how long, since Xbox has existed, right? Since 2001. So it's one of those things to where, to be honest, I've had my account sometime after that. So let's just say 2006. I've been paying for it this whole time. And then now that I'm finally getting something for that service that I was paying for, mind you, if you want to say, oh, it's $60 more, at a month-to-month basis, there is no better value, because I have the chance to play games that I've never played before. I can save money, I can set aside, I can budget it out, and make sure that I touch certain games that I maybe would have overlooked. Mass Effect is one of those biggest examples. Because of Game Pass, now, I didn't play Mass Effect through Game Pass, but because of Game Pass and I'm playing my other titles through Game Pass and just having that availability to me, I had the funds available at the time to buy Mass Effect Legendary Edition when it came out. This is the first time of me ever playing this game. I don't know if, of course, I'm older now, so yeah, I could have still set aside the money, whatever the case, but just use it as an example of just changing your mindset on, man, I save money on these games. I just got like 5 or 6 games part of my service. Oh man, I could just spend that money I just saved and buy this other game that I never was interested before, but people keep saying it's great. Oh, let me put down the $50, $60 and try it out. And then also every other game that continuously comes into the service that offers me nothing but outstanding value. And I know there's a lot of people on, whether you want to say the Twitter streets, YouTube streets, Reddit streets, whatever you want to call it, because I look across the board, not just our ecosystem. And a lot of people try to limit, say, oh, you just feel that way because you're the gaming hardcore, quote unquote, which I turn into the enthusiast. And I have to disagree to that statement, because I feel like, people like to base their stuff off of their friend group, but there's been too many situations that I've been in personally where I've either informed somebody about Game Pass, heard something about Game Pass, or it came up a conversation somehow and they're like, really, you get all that in a service like that? And when you compare it to things like Netflix, Disney Plus, or anything else, the main difference is that gaming is interactive. It's not something you're just turning on and then, oh, it's just there. No, I mean, you have to interact with it. Not only that, it's not like it's taking anything away that you didn't have previously. You can still buy the games. You can you get promos for DLC. You get discounts on games when they come into there. So it's been nothing but a benefit to the gamer overall. And I just genuinely feel that because of this play that Microsoft started in 2017, where they really noticed, Phil got in there and sat down with Satya and said, yo, this is what we need to do to move forward, to become competitors in this space. Because whether people want to realize it or not, Sony has been around for a long time, since the early 90s. And even before that, they were still making hardware. So they're a known brand. But for Microsoft to come off of Windows and make a device that is now, in the year 2022, offering more competition than ever before and giving gamers more accessibility and options than ever before, cannot be understated. And I feel like people miss that point. There's nothing wrong with giving people more of a reason to invest, getting more accessibility out there to the gamer, because that's the main point. Again, 3 billion is the goal, right? And then also giving them the option, because we can't forget that they rolled in this whole xCloud play as part of Game Pass also. So you see that the reach is there. It's frustrating to me when I hear people talk about it in such a way where like it's a negative or it's going to change what you want out of gaming, when gaming is subjective anyway. And Microsoft is the only place that's giving you the value that they're giving you through their service currently. So I'm excited to see what the competition is going to do. Hopefully Spartacus offers something similar. Again, give me definitely a reason to invest more so than anything else. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what the future holds.
Yeah, shout out to you, man. That was such a great breakdown. I don't even know how to follow that up. Dead ass. I don't even know how you follow that up, bro. So good luck, whoever is next up. But we're gonna go ahead and see a quick super chat. Shout out to Z Black Rider, $5 super chat. He said, "I remember pumping dozens of dollars into machines just to advance to the next level. This is a golden age." Shout out to you, bro. We can't forget the small things that gets lost in the sauce. That gets lost. And I was just thinking about this the other day. And I was thinking about how prominent, like, Xbox generally does at least one thing every generation that pushes gaming forward as a whole. Xbox, the OG Xbox, what was it? The hard drive, the Ethernet port.
Yes.
That stuff wasn't normal up until then. 360 was Xbox Live. That changed gaming forever. We didn't have that until we got the 360. And then, Xbox One, obviously, there was some stumbles there, but with the Series X, Series S, the amount of content between the hardware, it's such a balanced console. I don't know if we've ever had a console so balanced between the two options that fits so perfectly, and then the direction that it's going to be so portable with the cloud, and just it's such a versatile console. So shout out to you, Z Backwater, for the $5 super chat. But let's go ahead and get this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion on this, man. Once again, I don't know how you follow that up, man, because
it's good game. It's hard to follow Steel after that great breakdown, man.
Yeah, go ahead, bro.
For me, the biggest thing with Game Pass for me is that me having two kids and game share is something that you can do, like I've been doing for a while, where they have my home console. So any purchases I make, they had access to. Well, now they each have their own console, and they each have their own PC, and they each have their own phone. So doing the game share thing just isn't cutting it. So to make it not really to make it worthwhile, but to make it make sense, so I'm not buying 3 copies of almost everything that they play, it was better for me to just go ahead and say, all right, I'm going to buy Game Pass for one of us, and then we can game share that Game Pass, although it only takes place on the console. And eventually I caved in, wound up getting everybody Game Pass so they can have it on their PC and phone. But it was like game share Game Pass, and then give like the Microsoft Reward Point Game Pass things that I collect and build up over time over to my other son, so that way he'll have access to the same games. And there was only like a handful of games that I would have to like do like a duplicate buy or repurchase, that since it's now they have a Series S, and some of those games that they used to play or on disc, and they can't do that anymore. I wound up having to buy like Dying Light, the original one, digitally again, and I think Grand Theft Auto again, which I gave Take-Two some money too. So, but it's just one of those things where after that, the rest is golden. Like having that Hitman trilogy in there, considering one is like a Hitman stan, he is loving it, and he's like getting achievements all over again on some of those, and revisiting like Hitman 1 and 2 that we bought before. So it's like having some of those day and date, or even some of the older games like Edith Finch or Plague's Tale. My older son's finally, decided, all right, I'm gonna give these games a try. Like the big thing I used to do early on when we were doing Game Pass and doing Game Share was just have it where it's like, all right, gamer homework. I know you guys are all about that Call of Duty Warzone right now, or at least back before the whole Vanguard and whatnot, when it was somewhat good and not hacked up. But hey, try this game out. It hit Game Pass, and then it's like, all right, they found like other niches that they would have never bothered with before. Like one of them fell in love with Hades. Like that was never on that kid's gamer radar ever before. Like roguelike was not something he would even bother picking up. And it's like, oh yeah, I gotta make it out of Hades as many times as I can and get back and unlock these things in the mirror and stuff like that. So
So
Game Pass in
Gabo
general is just
threw you a message too, just to throw it out there. I mean to cut you off. You know, Gabo threw you he said Fuzzy Belvedere, that's awesome, but I do wonder. He said, I do wondering how many people are saving that amount of money a year. I'm not anti Game Pass. I have it myself. How many games off of there do users play?
Let's see. I can't really speak for others, but I know for me, the problem I had earlier on with Game Pass was like every game that I was actually buying were the ones that would eventually wind up going in there. So I've kind of adjusted my buying schedule. So like when what was that? The racing game, crap, I can't, like Onrush. Onrush was one of those because I was a MotorStorm fan. I wound up buying that like day one and all the DLC. And then like less than 6 months later, it winds up in Game Pass. Same thing with I think it was like Resident Evil 7. Bought it day one. One of my kids really wanted to try it out. Bought it day one, and it eventually winds up in Game Pass. So I've kind of adjusted my buying schedule. Like I know what games usually wind up making it into Game Pass sooner rather than later, and what ones usually never make it into Game Pass. So adjusting my buying schedule on that, where the games that we were buying before normally wound up within 6 months to a year in Game Pass anyway, we'll put a hold on those unless it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it's going to only be in there for a few months. Then we pick it up where it's at a discounted price in comparison. Sure, there's a lot of months that pass in between that time to garner that savings, but in the general string of things, a lot of times some of these games that we were buying day and date, I might not personally touch. Like my sons might play like the first day the downloads or something like that, but I might not touch it for like 6 months to a year because I'm still playing. Amber alert. Sorry about that in the background, and I can't turn it off. There we go. Sorry about that.
Gotta love those Amber alerts. I tell you what.
Pennsylvania Amber alert.
Oh, for God's sake, cut
Pennsylvania.
Off.
All right.
Yeah,
Look out, Pennsylvania.
You got some snow there.
When it comes to a lot of those games, I'm up there still playing the Division, or I'm playing Forza, or I'm playing one of the games that I log into daily. Right. And I might not get to like Just Cause 4, for like the first 5 months, even though I bought it day and date. Or the same thing with like Watch Dogs. Like I started playing that day and date, and then it had some bugs in it, and it was like I should have waited. And that was one of those I was kind of on the fence where I just kind of had that feeling it would make it in Game Pass, but it still hasn't come to Game Pass yet. So I guess it made sense for me to buy that particular one, even though it had some issues up front. But yeah, I think if people look at the pattern of what winds up in Game Pass, and if those are the games that you would normally buy day and date but may not get around to because of your backlog, it's definitely worthwhile to like pause, wait until it gets into Game Pass, pick it up on sale later, buy the DLC or the additional content if it doesn't seem like it's going to leave there for a while. And if it does leave, you're picking it up at an even deeper discount, and you got to play it sooner rather than later in a lot of cases. That's the biggest thing. It provides these extra options for whether you're a parent with kids that game as well, or you're in the household of gamers, or you're the only one in the household that's gaming. It gives you some options as far as access to games, sometimes sooner rather than later, some of them a little bit later than what you may have normally had, but you have a constant flow of things to at least try out. And if you're anything like me, where sometimes there's games that you would be completely on the fence for, like Psychonauts 2, it wasn't even on my radar, but it's like, hey, it's in Game Pass, I'm gonna give it a try. I actually fell in love with that game and wound up actually buying a copy of it. So, and I know that probably sounds silly. It's like, oh, it's never gonna leave Game Pass, why buy it? But I don't know if I'm going to have Game Pass 3, 4, 5 years down the road. So I'd rather, if I enjoy it that much, I'm going to go ahead and pick it up.
And that's an option that you have. That goes back to what you were just saying.
Beauty of that whole service. It's like you're not just locked down to where you're only renting the games, or you're only having access to these games for a limited amount of time, which some, yes, you do, but there's so many different ways you can approach it. And if you're not really trying to pinch pennies, but if you're trying to save some money, which I don't know anybody that's not trying to save money. I mean, I came from the time frame where you used to clip coupons out of the paper type of thing. So I don't know if people still do that stuff.
There's obviously a lot of people on Twitter, Fuzzy, that are trying to save money. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I'd rather save a few dollars and put that towards either another game or other equipment, another headset or another controller or maybe another system. After an amount of time, I'm going to save up enough money or upgrade for my PC or whatever the case may be. But for me, I just like the fact that it gives me options, and I hope whatever Spartacus winds up doing something similar where I'll have access to games that I may not have bothered with or may have been on the fence with.
Exactly.
And I'll have that option as far as, picking them up, playing them and whatnot. So that's all I got.
No, I agree. And I want to throw this back to you still real quick before we get to your brother Pong here. The one thing about Game Pass that's very, very interesting is how versatile it is. And I kind of want to highlight that. And I want to throw this to you real quick before we get to Pong, is that I think people really people still, it's crazy because you think that the evidence is already out there, the way people feel about so the cool thing about Game Pass is that it hits every single thing along the way, from consumer to the guy sitting up there in the boardroom. It works along the way, from developer to publisher to small indie developer. It doesn't really matter the size of the game. Works, right? The idea still works. So I kind of want to throw that to you. What do you think about just the versatility of Game Pass? And people don't really understand, it fits so many different scenarios, and that's what makes it as valuable as it is.
I mean, speaking to the versatility aspect of it, look at what Microsoft is good at. How versatile is Windows? It only makes sense that they make a Game Pass just as versatile. There's a reason why it's good for the company level. Again, the companies are going to charge you money to play your games regardless. Whether you do that digitally or whether you're going to get the hard copy or not, that's completely up to you. And again, since everybody has so many different gaming habits, you're not just speaking to one person. And so it just gives you the option to, you kind of were speaking to, from the consumer up to the boardroom level. There is more of a potential for you to make money through Game Pass, especially on the business level over time, than you would just selling one game. Even if you did 3 games a year, top of the line, triple IPs, we'll just use the ones that are coming out for Sony at the moment. So you use Horizon Forbidden West, you use God of War, and then you throw one more in there. Let's just say it's Spider-Man 2. All 3 of those games are going to take 4 to 5 years to sell 30 million copies. To make even anywhere close of a semblance to what you would gather, having 25 million people touching your games day one, garnering interest day one, and within the first 5 years of that game releasing, for you to potentially make better games on the line, reiterate on those sooner if you wanted to, especially going into the generation that we're kind of headed into, and then getting the potential for the cash flow to come in to fund those single player games that everybody wants. The versatility of Game Pass is the fact that it's going to help developers in the long run. It's going to help you as the consumer in the long run. And again, if you're that person that plays 1 or 2 games a year, cool. But I can guarantee you right now that there is at least 5 games in Game Pass that you probably didn't think that you would want to touch, and you would at least try. That's the versatility of it. That's the aspect of it. That's the reach that it has. And the better that it gets over time, again, it's going to be something that's not only harder to compete with, but it's also going to be something that's undeniable, in my personal opinion.
I agree. And we're going to throw this over to you, Pong. Just the impact, and we've talked about this many times. Many times about Game Pass and what it means to Xbox. And it's funny because some people will flip that on its head, if we're being real, and act like that's a weakness. Like they had to change the strategy. The kitchen was too hot, so they changed the strategy because they couldn't compete. And that's not necessarily the case. You don't understand business if you have that frame of thinking, at least in my opinion. Because there's many ways to make money. There's many ways to skin a cat. There's many ways to do, you can do different things. Like the entire video game space is for creativity.
Mhm.
You know, there's many ways to do a lot of different things. You can all get to the same goal, but a bunch of different paths. So Xbox is a completely different path than Nintendo, than Sony.
Mhm.
They're doing things a bit differently. You know,
Hey,
so
and Pong, I want to set this up for you so you can springboard off of it. If you don't mind me interrupting you for a second,
yeah, go ahead.
PTK.
Mute him.
And the
Mute
only
him.
reason,
God dang
only
it.
reason that I want to bring this up is because I know Pong's going to springboard off of this. No, Microsoft didn't have to do it for competition's sake, whatever else the case might be. But they obviously saw that the game could not be won the way that Sony is playing the game and has been playing the game the same as Nintendo has.
Well,
They
so
had to
you
do
telling me
something
they
different.
saw the expiration date on the not necessarily the expiration date, but they essentially saw that the way of doing business wasn't as sustainable the way things are going.
It's blatantly obvious. It shouldn't take you 4 to 5 years for 30 million people to see your game. Now you're getting 18, 20 million, 25 million in that first 3 months.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, Paul, go ahead. Springboard, Pong.
Yeah. So Steele is correct. What Xbox? Oh, look, this is multifaceted. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. People aren't wrong in saying that they changed their strategy in part because of their failures. Okay, they're not completely 100% wrong.
That is true.
Okay, the hole that was dug with the Xbox One generation
Deep.
was such a gigantic hole that they were going to get out of the. It's legit now. It's been confirmed. They were legit talking about getting out of the game business.
Yep.
Okay, because Satya, the investors, did not see a way forward.
Yep.
So Phil and his team had to create a way forward in order to save Xbox and their game and all, their strategy had to adapt to what was coming up. So what Phil and his team did was say, okay, one of the pillars of Microsoft right now is Azure servers, right? Well, how can we fit our game? How can we fit our entire strategy within that pillar to make it enticing for us to be able to continue to make games and consoles and to continue this ecosystem?
Mm-hmm.
And they obviously had worked on this previously. Game Pass didn't just pop out of thin air. Game Pass was obviously something that they were considering, but Phil brought it to the forefront. And he figured out a way, and this is where the leadership of Phil, and that he, again, we talk all the time. The greatest quality of him is that he is a gamer at heart.
Yep.
However, he is obviously an incredible businessman. Okay,
absolutely.
He's been working his way up through the ranks at Microsoft since the beginning. Okay, so this guy knows what's going on. So he learned how to go into that meeting with Satya and explain to him how they could fit the entire Xbox division into their pillar, which was Azure servers and cloud and all that stuff. And one of that vehicle, that platform, was Game Pass. So he brought that in and explained it in a language that Satya and then the rest of the board and then eventually the investors could all understand how this was going to promote Microsoft's main business. Like Steele said, they are a service-based company, right? The hardware is outside their norm, but software and services is their forte. So he brought it down to that level and gave them an opportunity to be able to see a future where Xbox could actually be the key to promoting their cloud servers in Azure, because they're in a battle with Amazon over at AWS, right? So that's what Phil did. So people aren't wrong that they had put themselves into a position where something needed to change. Now, the second part of this, to Steele's point, is that the once they got that accomplished and once they got that idea into Satya's head and everybody else at Microsoft's head, then the next thing was, well, how are we going to get growth out of this? Well, the console market is capped. It's been capped, right? It's been capped. So what do they do next? Okay, we're no longer talking about just the console hardware base. Now that we've got this cloud, now that we've got this vehicle and Game Pass, and we think we can get this out to cell phones, we think we can get this out to tablets. Hey, we can even get an app on a TV. We think we can do this because of the way technology's going. Guess what? Now we're uncapped. Now what's the real market at this point when you include PC as well in there and mobile? What's the real market? Well,
3 billion that they've been talking about?
2 to 3 billion people are playing. You might not know this, Satya, because you're not a gamer. But guess what? Here's the stats. 2 to 3 billion people are playing games. What if I can tell you that we can go after that number? Oh, now you're speaking real Microsoft language at that point, right? Look what they did with Windows, right? Now that their operating system is in what, still 90%, over 90% of the
over 95%.
Yeah, something like that. Now you're really talking the same language as that upper management level at Microsoft. So guess what happens? Then they go ahead and greenlight that sucker, right? Now Phil says, okay, great. You greenlit this. Look, here's the Netflix. Here's what Netflix is spending. This is what Netflix has gone into debt to grow their service to where they're at. Because during this whole time, Netflix went from, I think I remember my stats, like just over 25 million to 100 million subscribers within a 4 to 5 year period while Xbox was starting up Game Pass.
Ridiculous.
They watched that. And Phil said, hey, Satya, by the way, if this is what we're going to try to hit 2 to 3 billion people, we need content. We have 5 studios right now, guy.
Yep.
This ain't going to work. We're going to need some cash.
Guy?
Yeah. Hey, guy, we're going to need some cash over here.
In the back alley.
Now that they saw the vision, that was an easy sale, right? So then you started seeing the influx of cash. You saw those initial purchases, Obsidian, In Exile, all those studios. And then you start to see Game Pass grow. So here we are now at this point, 32 plus, comfortably can probably say 35 to 38 studios if this acquisition goes through. This vision has grown over time, but it started back then. So again, those people aren't necessarily wrong. Sony on the other side, look, what they're doing and what they did, and you said you started this whole conversation, PTK, by saying they missed the boat. I don't know if it was missing the boat per se.
So so can I address that?
Yeah,
really,
go ahead,
quick?
PTK.
So I don't, maybe I misspoke about it missing the boat. All I meant was that, and to be fair, I don't know if you actually can see Game Pass coming.
No.
Right? Like, there's no way that Sony could see that coming, right? Like, I don't know if we're all on the same page. So to be fair, I don't know if they could have predicted that Xbox would go that direction.
No, they probably didn't see Xbox necessarily. Okay. First of all, they kind of saw the future because they brought up PS Now before Game Pass, right? So they tried. They saw some of the future.
They spent $300 million on Gaikai.
Right, exactly. They bought Gaikai. They had plans in the works. Obviously, they didn't understand what the infrastructure was going to take, or they didn't realize what it would actually take to get a service up and running to that degree that we now see in Game Pass. Or if they did, they just looked at their bank account and said, yeah, we can't make that kind of investment. Sony Corp is like, yeah, no, we're dominating. We're dominating the video game industry right now from our aspect. Why the heck would we go ahead and take a risk on this? You know what I'm saying? And why would we do that? So again, even if the PlayStation, the people in charge of PlayStation at the time wanted to go that route, or we're talking about, again, we'll never know this story. Again, we're just speculating here in Speculation Town. But even if they wanted to go, I'm sure Sony Corp was like, yeah, no, you guys are our main breadwinners, but we can't just fork you over everything that we got to try to get this thing up and running, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of had to sit back and say, look, no big deal. We're still king. We're still got the mind share. We dominated this generation, 120, 130, 140 million consoles sold, whatever it was. Our big titles are selling 20 million, right? Are, somewhere in that neighborhood over its lifespan. We're doing good. We're doing fine. We're doing okay. Let's sit back, right? Then here comes along Microsoft and Xbox. The one thing that they probably underestimated was the sales job that Phil did to get Satya on board. And even after Satya came out and said, we're all in, they probably still were like, are you really though? Really? Is Microsoft really going to do this? Well, guess what? A ZeniMax, an Activision Blizzard acquisition later. Yeah, they're all in, right? So, but they probably were kind of sitting back, just kind of waiting. And they're also letting Microsoft and Xbox trailblaze, right? And we saw the deal. They did do a deal with Microsoft. We still don't know what's come out of it or if this deal's still going on for the Azure servers. So they started to dip their toes into this whole thing. And now with Spartacus, it sounds like they're going to really try. Again, resources, content-wise, they don't have it, but they do have some advantages, which we've talked about many times, that they could bring extra value to their service. And again, their fan base being what it is, a lot like Nintendo's fan base, there's a big, giant core of rabid fans within Sony. Yes, they have a lot of the casual market as well with the Call of Duties and the Maddens because everybody's friends play over on Sony, so you just buy a Sony as well. They have a lot of that, but they do have a pretty big fanatical fan base that they can easily convert if you show them any kind of value out of this Spartacus. And they're willing to buy into it, right? So they're going to be they're going to be able to catch up, subscriber wise, if they position it correctly in a timely fashion. This is not going to take as long as it took Game Pass. And they got to sit back and watch Game Pass go through all the ups and downs, the trials and tribulations, and then they can look at their own situation, right? And say, okay, well, we can't go spend this kind of money, but what can we do to kind of slot into this and give our own fans our own version of this? Because obviously we do know this is now successful. That reoccurring money each month is more valuable than a one-time sale, like Steele was saying, especially with their games consisting of mainly single player games.
Yeah.
Now we
30,
know
40-hour games.
Right. That one-time purchase with and again, almost all their games, they don't have a lot of DLC. They don't sell a lot of cosmetics. They don't do any of that stuff on any of those games. So that reoccurring money is going to be more valuable to them. Now they got to keep people in that service and they got to keep people interested in keeping that monthly fee going. And they're not going to be able to do that, like Steele said, with 4 to 5 year games. They're not going to be able to do that. We saw them bring in more support studios. We've seen them expand over to the PC side of things. And they're going to continue to make deals outside of their first party to bring in some content that's going to be different. They're making some second party deals and funding some studios to bring in some multiplayer games because in Game Pass, that's what thrives. That's what keeps people interested in your service. That's what keeps people engaged in between those first party titles. They're going to do that. They're going to cut deals with Square Enix to bring some Final Fantasies in there. They're going to do all sorts of stuff. They've got advantages. They can do it. It's just not going to be one for one with Game Pass. But I think that's really, at the end of the day, again, we'll never know what truly happened in any of this scenario, but you can kind of see it, right? You can kind of look, take that step back, take that RTS view, take that satellite view that Steele always talks about, the RTS, and look kind of at the whole of what happened here and how the landscape has changed since Game Pass was introduced. And you can kind of see what kind of what happened to lead up to this point. But I think this is the way forward. And, to people like Gabo who question, how much money does it really save? That's always going to depend upon the person that you are. However, if you just do some simple math, the average gamer probably does dabble in more than 2 games per year. And at $10 per month, that's 2 games. They probably dabble in more than that. So then it becomes a value, right? Even if you're playing for Xbox Ultimate like me, $180 per year, that's 3 games. Look, for me, this is an extreme value because of how I play games and how I graze, right? I'm getting max value for how I play games. But the other thing that people can't forget is that this is all optional. It's optional to the consumer to buy into it. You can still buy your games the way you want to. It does not matter. It's optional for the consumer. It's optional for the devs to jump into Game Pass. They're not forced into Game Pass. This isn't some strong arming kind of technique. Does it give them a lot of advantage to have their game in there? Sure it does, but that's what a great service is supposed to do, give you an advantage if you want to jump in. But Microsoft isn't saying, hey, come in our service just for the fun of it, just for the advertising, come on into it, just give us your game. They're paying these devs. So again, everybody's winning across the board. Microsoft and Xbox are obviously winning. devs are winning, consumers are winning right now. Could that all change? Of course, there could be some bad decisions made down the road that completely flip this thing. But guess what's going to happen? It's going to fail then. And it's going to fail. It's going to crash. It's going to burn. We're not going to have it. And guess what? The industry is going to move on. There's going to be a lot of turmoil. There'll be a lot of people, that are probably hurt by it. But at the end of the day, the industry will still move on. This industry is too big. However, if they continue with what they've been doing and making all these great decisions and keeping everybody happy, which it seems that they are right now, they're keeping everybody happy, then again, the sky's the limit for the service. And when you're talking about a $2 to $3 billion or $2 to $3 billion person goal to try to get into this ecosystem, it's not like they're going to hit 100 million. All of a sudden they're going to go, hey, that's good enough. We're out $40 per month now. Enjoy it or get out. They're not going to do that kind of thing. They are shooting for the moon, which means they have to keep going. They have to keep.
Yeah, they're fully invested now.
They are. They're all in this. There was
too much money.
Last month, there was just that article, that interview with Sarah Bond, where she broke down the business side of things. She exactly said what we've been talking about. And what I said in the beginning of this was that Game Pass is now a seller of Azure servers, which is Microsoft's main pillar of business outside of OS, right? Outside of Word, outside of the software, that is their main business. And they are in a heated competition with AWS. They are still behind AWS, but she explained how they can go into other industries with the examples that they have coming from Game Pass, because the games are more complex than most industries when it comes to cloud usage and how data is transferred and how things are saved and all that kind of stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff that we gamers don't care about. That is more complex than most of the industries that they go to that want to use the Azure servers. So they have this complex system already set up over on their game side that they can walk into an industry and say, hey, what do you need for Azure servers? What are you looking to do with your business? And they can get the explanation and they can go, that's going to be easy. Here's what we do over on the gaming side that relates directly to what you're trying to do. And that's just one little piece of what goes on in gaming. And this is how efficient we are at handling it. This is what Azure can do for you and give you the benefit. And it's an easy sale. And that's exactly why they're going to continue to invest in this. That's why when you see an Activision Blizzard deal go down, not one single investor asked a question about that acquisition on the call.
At all.
Not one single question came up about
Insanity.
a $68.7 billion deal. Not one question came up at all.
Biggest deal.
Do you think had Donnie D gone back in the day and said, hey, by the way, we're going to do $15 billion on an acquisition, do you think there would have been some questions from the investors? Yeah, there would have been quite a few questions.
We saw the video. They got the videos on YouTube. They went in there and asked for just a couple billion.
Yeah.
And it was like
crazy.
A baby. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Right. So that solidifies everything. Game Pass is a disruptor, like Steele said. It is something that's changing the industry. It's changing how people view things. Change is always hard for human psychology. We all get that. We're creatures of habit. So it's very hard to get out of those old models. We still like using the old language that we had for the way that the gaming industry was. And slowly but surely, especially those of us that are invested this heavily, that we do these shows and are reading news articles, we're starting to see it. And that ripple will spread out. And eventually, there are going to be, billions of people who don't care about the gaming industry like we do, other than, hey, what new game is out on my phone, tablet, or console or PC. Right. I get that. But there's going to be the transition. You see Sony execs now using engagement as the main term. Yep. That's that language that's been created by Game Pass, by the service-based kind of setup, just like Netflix, except you can still buy your games, you can still buy DLC, you can do all this extra stuff. But engagement is the key metric now. It's not about those console sales. It's not just about units sold anymore. Because again, in a service base where you're keeping people invested in your ecosystem on a monthly basis, trying to keep them from canceling their subscription until something new comes out, that's not what you want. You need that long-term play. And that's what all of this is about, is long-term. This is 10, 15, 20 years down the road. That's how far Microsoft and Xbox are looking. And Sony is slowly but surely starting to view it that way as well. Again, whether or not they can pull it off, you got to wait and see, but they are starting to look in that direction. So this is nothing but good for us gamers, because competition at the end of the day is the best thing ever for us, because they're going to be trying everything they can to get us to subscribe and to stay subscribed, which means the value that we're seeing out of Game Pass, we should see maybe not the same value, but a very good value out of Spartacus as well.
Absolutely, 100%. Once again, we'll close this topic on that. But once again, the one thing I will say about Sony, and I constantly repeat this, and I want to make sure everybody's aware that I am very clear on this, is that Sony has something that you cannot buy, and that is brand loyalty.
Yep.
And they can always lean on their strong brand loyalty that they fostered, they've carefully curated, and built over the last 20 plus years.
Yep.
That's something you cannot purchase, you cannot buy, you can't throw money in. And not saying, I don't want to get it messed up. Please don't twist my words. I'm not saying that that's what Xbox is doing. They have a different strategy. They're using their resources. Money is a resource, people. Yep. Having a lot of it is super helpful in business. And that's a resource that you want to utilize, and that's exactly what they're doing. So I don't want to paint the wrong picture here, but I do want to highlight the fact that that's one thing that I think Sony can always lean on, very similar to Nintendo. That's why Nintendo seemingly does whatever the hell they want and nobody bats an eye, is because what they have is priceless. You can't buy it. So moving on to the next topic, but I want to give some quick shout outs here to some other people that snuck in here. I know I saw who else I see? Silent Cypher. What's up, Rick Payne, Caitlin? I know Mav's been in here hanging out. Froggy T White, Z Black. I know he let me go up a little bit. I think he threw another $5 super chat somewhere. I want to make sure did I read that? I don't know. I might have covered that already, but shout out to everybody watching here live, man. Appreciate you guys. We are moving on to the last topic of the night, and this is a fun one. I put this one last on purpose because I know we're going to freestyle on this thing. So we're talking a little bit about Certain Affinity. Now, you may have heard of Certain Affinity. They did help a lot, I believe, with their work on Halo, and they worked as a support studio for Call of Duty as well. So this actually came from Jeff Grubb, VentureBeat's own Jeff Grubb, that they are working on a monster-like exclusive game for Xbox. So we're going to dive right into that, and we're going to start with you, Steel. I don't know if you guys covered this already. Maybe you guys did on the show earlier this morning.
We did.
But, yeah, okay, cool. Awesome. I got to make sure I go back, by the way. I just outed myself. So I got to go watch it. But how do you feel about where you at on this? Are you excited about? I mean, it's interesting, super interesting. But where you at on this deal?
What's crazy to me is that I know a lot of people like to downplay it and say, "Oh, you can't be hyped for a game that you've never seen, and you just can't be happy about anything." And then you don't want to take it, but don't want to take into consideration that Activision Blizzard has been underneath this stone, trapped, working and chugging on Call of Duty juice for the last decade, darn near. It is insane to me that people have a hard time realizing that obviously what was able to happen through this deal, and you could definitely say, and we can have an argument, say, oh, maybe this could have happened anyway. But I would have to say, I don't think so. I think what happened with this deal allowed for more creativity to stem out of the deal. So for an example, because people were saying, hey, well, there's goes Microsoft forcing people to make games. And this was Certain Affinity's idea. And Microsoft is just bankrolling it. Xbox is just bankrolling it. And that's a completely different thing. Especially if it's their idea. And then when you go back and you look at their pedigree, and when they've worked on Halo 2 Anniversary, they got work in the Halo Master Chief Collection, they got work at Halo 4. And I want to line those up specifically because those are newer versions of these Halo games. Mind you, they also have some hands in, again, the Halo Combat Evolved, which is also part of the Master Chief Collection. And then also Left 4 Dead back in the day. But it just shows you that they obviously know what to do with a multiplayer type game, at least have some expertise in that field. There's also apparently it's led by Max Halberman, and there's some other amounts of ex-Bungie employees or devs that could be as part of that situation too.
Solid.
So they have some pedigree, and that gets me excited because I am an avid Halo fan. And I know what it takes to make that game and that IP great. And if they have hands on that, they've also had, again, you bring Left 4 Dead up in the conversation. There's a reason Back 4 Blood hasn't worked as well. It's not Left 4 Dead. So with that, there's obviously something else there. There may be some special sauce that they got that they put on their chicken nuggets every night when they eat their dinner or whatever the case may be, that they have some form of potential. And the fact that this idea was able to be brought up and Microsoft was just like, yeah, let's do it. And then you get us off the heels of also hearing Phil say, let's do it, when he's hearing all the IPs that are coming along with Activision Blizzard themselves. It just shows you credence that they really were tied up. They didn't have the funding. They didn't have the opportunity. These teams are getting more opportunities to create magnificent titles. And again, as an artist, you want to paint that Picasso, right? You want to become the Michelangelo, like I stated earlier. Gaming is art and should be treated as such. And the more of that art that we could put out there, especially from a Monster Hunter type franchise, again, those games are popular. And if done right from a studio that has an understanding of multiplayer already, can definitely be
Xbox
a hit.
Doesn't have a game like that as well. That fits another hole in the portfolio.
Exactly. And so then all of a sudden you're getting this whole Eastern side of kind of an influence, but in the Western take, more than likely, because I can see them taking it that way. But you get people from the Eastern side who play Monster Hunter and are steadily invested in that to kind of look over and be like, oh, what's this other game you talking about? It's a Monster Hunter type game. Or people that play Dauntless. That's another game that's exactly just that same thing. You're hunting monsters, or like people kind of feel about Pokemon Arceus. It has that same kind of aesthetic, and people are attracted to that. So the fact that they're kind of going down, I don't want to necessarily say they're chasing it, but the fact that they have the cojones to want to work on something that similar, I'm just interested to see what they're going to actually do with it. And I want to see more details on it. Concept art. I want to see them talk about it more, their plans on it, and just kind of going from there. So it gets me excited, man. It just opens the door for what else is going to come out of this whole situation. What other IPs are going to get opened up through those back doors? So
it's crazy. The fallout from this is crazy. I don't even really think people get it, but Certain Affinity, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to say it. That's a nice little match for Xbox. I mean, I'm just
saying, yeah.
It's
organic.
Is it okay if we visit a little early this year, Pong? Speculation Town, can I show up a little early?
Speculation Town's always open for tours, man.
That's
you
right.
Know that.
That's
you
right.
Know that.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. I forgot. Okay.
I take your ticket at the gate. Don't worry.
Exactly, right? No. I mean, quiet is kept. They've done a lot of work. They got a great relationship. The two most notable games that Certain Affinity has worked on, Call of Duty, Halo, they're now both under the Xbox umbrella. I mean, it's not a huge company. They do phenomenal work. Clearly, they do phenomenal work. Very much so, like a Blue Point kind of, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
like very Blue Point kind of feel. Yeah, Blue Point kind of feel. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion on this, man. Once again, chat, let us know how you guys feel about this too. We'd like to know what you guys think about this this Certain Affinity game that we're hearing about. So where are you at on this, Fuzz? One, it was out of the blue. We know Jeff Grubb, obviously.
Yeah.
Things like this happen. Sometimes they're hit or miss. Obviously, he's not 100% correct about everything, but hearing this is very exciting in my opinion. Because one, like I said, the biggest thing for me is it fits a hole in the portfolio. I don't say a hole. It just fits something that the portfolio lacks. It gives them another dimension. It adds something that they don't currently have. So that's what I'm excited about. But where are you at on this, Fuzz?
Well, I also heard that they were doing possibly something new for Halo as well with the
new game mode. Yeah,
new game mode.
Yeah,
and they're also
that. I sent that in the DMs earlier as well.
Yeah, and Jez alluded to that or expanded on that today on Xbox Era as well. And they're also working supposedly on Perfect Dark.
Oh wow,
man, they got a full plate over there.
Yep.
Nice. So does that also mean Perfect Dark might have a multiplayer component?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Fuzz, I see where you're going. I like that.
No, but I think the big thing is like Monster Hunter was one of those like kind of caught off guard or like a kind of like a surprise hit, and he even made it into Game Pass as well. But that was one of those titles that I picked up before it wound up in Game Pass, and I was like, if I had only waited like 3 or 4 more months. But yeah, having something similar to a Monster Hunter, I think, is a good idea, considering how well it did in Game Pass, and even before Game Pass, how well it sold on Xbox, with it being not your normal or usual like go-to game at that point. So being a co-op, not really a looter shooter, but like that you have loot drops and gear and things like that, and I think that that's like a good fit for the Xbox ecosystem in general. And
Yeah.
if they put kind of like a Western spin on it to some extent, I think this could be more of a hit than a miss type of thing. And I just like the fact that Xbox is taking those risks on these things. Like back in the day, it even seemed like some of the go-tos were not getting greenlit like they should. And now it's great to see that, hey, a dev team that they work with and have done good collaborations with and stuff in the past comes to them and is like, hey, we have this idea. Or maybe Phil's just visiting their office and is like, hey, what are you guys up to? What's this y'all are huddling around the screen, and checks it out and is like, I'll
I'm gonna tell you something right now, Fuzz. If I'm a dev, I'm going to I'm going to talk to Phil while he's in a good mood.
Yeah.
Yep.
If the wallet is open, I'm going, look, Phil, hey, listen, Phil, just give me 5 minutes. I just need 5 minutes. I don't need much time. I just need to talk to you real quick. We don't even need an office. We can go right over here by the plant in the hallway.
Go to McDonald's.
We don't even need, like, I'm pulling up right now. Like, look, we need to, like, this is gonna happen, right? Like, we need to do this. So
yeah,
I'm mistake emails with clips from my game that I'm currently working on.
I was like,
I'm sorry, that wasn't supposed to go to you, Phil. I apologize.
Yeah, but I think that's an awesome thing now, with him either sitting down with these devs or them coming to him and him able to making a decision on whether to greenlight it or fund it and things like that.
Well, he's at the head of the table now, right? Head of Microsoft Gaming. We can't forget about that new title.
True. So he's in that position to help, bring more games to the platform, or just games in general. I don't know how the whole Microsoft gaming aspect is going to flourish beyond Xbox. But hey, however it does, if he's able to greenlight these projects, this is an awesome time now. Pong's famous saying of golden age of gaming. Yeah, this is not just that, but it's like gamer Christmas every day almost, it seems, with all the news that's coming out. So it's pretty awesome that these guys are able to work on this game, and that they're doing this new game mode for Halo. So yeah, and also working with Perfect Dark. So it's like, yeah, maybe they are on the table as far as we see how you guys work. Here's your new office building, and here's the budget for a new expansion as far as your team and stuff. So hey, maybe that gets announced later on in the year, or after the ink dries on Activision Blizzard.
Awesome. I love that. Now we do this all the time. What's funny is we do this a lot of times off air, and a lot of this shit actually comes true. Believe it or not, like me, Fuzz, Pong, we throw these balloons in the air, and sometimes them things come down. And you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Sometimes it lands right where we thought it was. So it works out beautifully. But I like the way you broke everything down, Fuzz. So let's go ahead and get this over to you, Pong. Get your opinion on this, man. Ultimately, like you said, I didn't even know they were doing the Perfect Dark. I didn't realize that they were helping with that as well. Maybe the team is a lot larger than even I thought. But
Jez is the one who said that. So shout out.
Oh, well, shout out to Jez, but ultimately you passed along the information. But go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say they got 250 devs currently.
So they're fairly large. Okay, so they're a pretty big studio. Yeah. So okay, well, where are you at on this, Pong? It's something that, like, obviously the quality of work has already been, shown at this point in time. So just where are you at on the whole Monster Hunter? Does that excite you? Is that something that, like, you?
Yeah, this is big for Certain Affinity. Look, I always tout this stuff. I love seeing these studios that have been around and on the come up, right? And that have worked together for a long time. This studio's been together for 15 years.
Organic, right?
Yeah, this is 100% organic, which is exactly what I said on the show this morning. Look, this is the perfect kind of situation for Certain Affinity to kind of put their, to kind of get their, look, they've worked on Age of Booty, which was a great little pirate game back in the day. That's their one original IP. Okay.
Yeah.
Great little Xbox arcade title. I believe it actually was back in the day. I own it. Yeah, it was Xbox arcade. This studio has been a support studio for some of the biggest franchises out there. And now for them to have an opportunity to do this it's fantastic. This is what shows where the industry is, how big the industry is growing right now, that these little studios that back in the day would have remained support studios, and we've seen this on Sony's side as well, right, are given the opportunity to go do something like this.
Right.
This is awesome. When you look at Certain Affinity and the 15 years of experience they've had and some of the devs that they have there, they've made some of the best map packs for Halo and for Call of Duty. So they know what they're doing, right? And for them to be able to turn around, now there's two stories. There's a story that I've heard two different ways. And again, we won't know, but one story is that Xbox was specifically shopping for a game of this design and that they wanted a co-op multiplayer type Monster Hunter type game for Gamepass and for obviously their ecosystem. And they were shopping around. And so they were, again, number one, they aren't forcing any of their first party studios to do something they don't want to do.
That's a good point.
Fantastic.
That's
right?
a good point. Yeah.
That's huge. And we can't underscore that enough. That again, all this talk that continuously still comes up that, Xbox is going to, ruin these studios, that they're going to force them to do. Look, this is the new Xbox. Get used to it. This is not how they do business anymore. They're letting their creatives do what they do best, which is create whatever they want, right? Within reason, obviously. But again, they're allowing them the freedom. We've seen it with Double Fine and Psychonauts 2. There is no better studio as an example of that than Double Fine.
Yeah.
Because Tim Schafer and his crew over there have some of the most outlandish ideas ever in their heads, right?
In the most respectful way as possible.
That's what I'm saying. But if Microsoft was going to mess with any studio that came underneath their umbrella, it would be Double Fine, right? No. What do you want to put in your game? What? No, that's not going to work. But they left them alone and let them complete Psychonauts 2 and made it a better game at the end of the day than it would have been.
Game of the year, by the way.
Right, exactly. Than it would have been had they had to try to finance that on their own. They've already come out and said that explicitly. Right, just crazy to think about, right? So again, this is the new Xbox. So a team like Certain Affinity, again, one side of the story is that Xbox was shopping for a game like this. They were looking around. Obviously, the first parties are all wrapped up doing, amazing things right now. So they went outside and tried to find. And Certain Affinity happened to have this idea that was kind of brewing. And Certain Affinity actually announced this new IP last year. So we know it's about a year old now at this point, or coming up on a year old. They just didn't say who they were doing, what the IP was or who they were making it for. But they did say they were working on a new IP and they started hiring again. So we obviously know that it's Microsoft. The other story is that, again, Certain Affinity had this idea, came directly to Xbox, obviously a great relationship with Xbox, and said, hey, we got this idea. Would this fit what you guys are looking for? And obviously Phil signed them up and said, absolutely, let's do this. Either way, Certain Affinity has an opportunity here to do something with their name on it, an original IP that could really put them on the map from a support studio to an actual mainline IP studio. And again, the health of this industry, the need for content right now to feed a subscription service like Game Pass is what's driving this. So again, the narratives of, this is terrible for the industry. This is bad for the industry. No, it's not. No, it's not. This is good. This is giving more and more people opportunities, and Certain Affinity is one of those. And while we're in speculation town, looking at this deal more and more with Certain Affinity, so they're going to do this original. Man. Yeah, they're going to do this original IP for you, right? Let's say it works out really well. Again, we don't know. Anything could happen. It could be a bad game, whatever, but you're giving them a shot, right? And then you go look at their history and they've worked on your pillar franchise in Halo.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And now you just acquired the other pillar franchise of the gaming industry that you are acquiring is now going to be underneath their umbrella. And they've worked on that on a regular basis for over a decade, man. So you're telling me that you got this studio that you've been working with for this long and on both of the two main franchises. And even if they create this great IP, you can grow them like you've been growing every other studio. And now all of a sudden you got a team ready to support two of your main franchises along with the ability to build out a new IP.
Yep.
Yo, you can't ask for a better situation. You couldn't ask for a better situation. You got a great relationship. You know how they work. This is exactly what Microsoft loves, Xbox loves. This is what Phil dreams of when he goes and acquires studios like a ZeniMax or an entire publisher that they work with and that they're friends with on a regular basis. Guaranteed they know these guys inside and out already. This is fantastic just for everybody involved. And so, yeah, down the road, after Activision Blizzard closes, would this make total sense as a 100% organic purchase? Absolutely, man. This is now like Certain Affinity wasn't on my radar. I didn't even, again, how many people, knew of Certain Affinity before this all came to light, right? Now they're on the top of my radar as one of those studios that I'm like, heck yeah, go get these guys, man. Go get these guys.
Just to put the bow tie on it, because I think we all know where this is going. Shout out to UK Asante. He said Max Horman, a studio founder, was the lead map designer for Halo 2 when he left to go create the studio.
Yep. It's incredible.
So that just goes to show you the history of life. It's come on, like really, what are we talking? It's a no-brainer. Organic,
it's a no-brainer. Yes, totally organic, and it would just fold right in.
Non-GMO, none of that nasty stuff.
Nope, exactly. Although I still do whatever that stuff.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, but anyway,
terrible talking point. Just final point on this whole thing with Certain Affinity as well. I'm going to throw this out there. I threw this out there last week when we were talking about Activision Blizzard. Fuzzy followed up this week with your poll question with bringing up true crime and gun as two possible. I really think that if it's true that Xbox was shopping around for this type of game,
right?
My idea that at this point, with the way that they're growing and how big they are getting, assuming, again, the Activision deal goes through, we don't know it will for sure. It's not 100%, but assuming it does, they're getting so big that they truly are at this point insulating themselves from any outside influence on their business. They truly are creating this own ecosystem, or trying to. Again, there's no guarantee of success here. Nobody's saying that this game is going to come out and be a Monster Hunter killer, that this game is going to even come close to being in the shadow of Monster Hunter. Nobody's saying that here. But what I'm saying is Xboxes themselves are trying to create this self-perpetuating kind of ecosystem where they can create nearly every single type of genre, and they can go ahead and create it internally or with very close second and third parties. So they don't have to worry about the Capcom deals, right? So they don't have to go try to slap down however many $200 million to get the next Monster Hunter World, or they don't have to worry that Sony cuts a deal with Capcom and all of a sudden Monster Hunter's exclusive for 2 years. They don't have to worry about that anymore because they're going to be able to answer each one of those, no matter what, at the end of the day. And I think that's an important thing. If they go back to true crime, if they go back to gun, if we see them go out and do a prototype like we talked about at the beginning of the show, if we start seeing those moves made, I really think that that's their ultimate plan, that they're going to have basically their whole entire gaming ecosystem within arm's reach, and they won't have to worry about anybody coming in and messing it up. They will be able to answer any kind of move that any of their competitors make one for one. And again, will they all be successes? No, they don't have to be. Just having the idea of having a Grand Theft Auto or a Red Dead, some type of Red Dead or some type of Monster Hunter within your ecosystem, exclusive, made by a first party or by a second party studio, close partner of yours. That is huge power to hold.
So I want to, before I lose the thought, I want to throw it out there.
Yeah, go.
That's something that is huge, Pong, and I love the fact that you brought that up because people don't understand that directly. That kills the entire argument that things have to be done organically. There is more than one way to skin a cat. When you don't have the resources in business, what do? If you can't create them yourself, you go find somebody who does it very well, and you employ them.
Correct.
You utilize the talent and the services that they provide. It's mutually beneficial. I got money, you got talent. We need you. We need each other. So that kills that whole organic argument. They're insulating. They can make any kind of game. They're going to get to a point to where they can make any kind of game. They can pump out any kind of game that they need to compete in the market.
Yep.
Exactly.
They go get a
to-
Japanese studio or publisher. It's over. They can make every type of game out there. And again, whether it's a success or not, they still will have representation of that style of game in their ecosystem at the end of the day, no matter what.
Yep. So think about this. So I want to throw this to Fuzz before we wrap this up too, because I want to hear your opinion on what we just said real quick, Fuzz. But think about this. They've had, and She Snow just brought this up in chat. They've tried to do this the other way.
Correct.
They tried to do this the Sony way.
Yep.
Like, let's just go let's just drop off a little bag. Here's 50. Here's 25. Can you make this game? Oh no, Platinum let's go take this money and go fund other shit we want to do. We're not even gonna think about the game. No, so they've tried to do this. Crytek, Quantum Break, they've tried to do this.
Yeah.
Brand loyalty.
So I mean, and I want to hear your opinion on this before we wrap this up, Fuzz, because we've talked about this off air and party chat and things like that. People do not get that, and I love the fact you brought that up, Pong. You need to do like a standalone video on that for real. People do not understand that point. That kills that whole organic argument. But go ahead, Fuzz.
No, the big thing for me is that when they did try this, you had things like Platinum, and not to badmouth Remedy. Remedy are slow when it comes to making games. I mean, yes, they take their time and they do some awesome things with those games, but they do take a lot more time than what would normally be. I wouldn't say necessarily allowed, but what is expected for that scope of game type of thing. So them having this approach where it's going to be in-house, they can recruit the talent if they don't already have it in the acquisitions. We see every day people are coming to their studios because as these artists and talented people see what's going on in their workspace, they're like, hey, what's going on over there? Let me go check that out. Oh, they're making decent offers over there. Let me see what projects they have. Oh, that looks exciting. Yeah, I'd love to work there for a bit. And then they work there and they either stay or they it's one of those fields where people are always moving around, but they're going to want to gravitate to what excites them or what reinvigorates their love of this career or this field. So, but as far as like what Pong was saying, you don't need to worry now as much about Take-Two possibly being acquired by Amazon or whomever if you're making the games or a similar game in that genre to your own specifications and your metrics that you have based on how well Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead Redemption performed in Gamepass. You have some inkling or some data that you can extract from that to help with the development of the game and push it towards those numbers that you're looking for. So they definitely are taking that different approach and learning from their previous mistakes or partnerships like with Platinum and so forth, and going forward with something that makes them a lot more sustainable in the sense of not having to worry or rely on outside sources that they don't necessarily have full control on. And
this is what we call digging the moat around the castle.
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to do things, I think, in the grand scheme of things. That way, you have all the cards, and you're working with that deck that you have, so you control the table, you control the game at that point, as opposed to somebody else where it's like, oh well, COVID hit us pretty bad, so we're about 6 months behind schedule, and it's like you're able to prepare yourself in case if there's anything that does need to change or if there's any hiccups in the process, you have your laid out plan that another game could slide in during that time frame. But overall, that whole organic thing, I just laugh when I hear it, just for the fact that a lot of those studios that they talk about organic were also purchased too. And even if they aren't purchased, just the transfer of talent, like people transition from studio to studio on a regular basis. So it doesn't matter if you buy it or whatever, you're still going to work on recruiting the talent if you don't already have it in your grasp at that point in time anyway. So it is what it is, but I love what they're doing.
Let me throw this last little nugget in here that kind of slid underneath the radar today. To this point, I want you to think about potential. And we're in speculation town. We know nothing, right? We know nothing, absolutely nothing. We just like looking into the crystal ball. This little nugget came in today. Shout out to Idle Sloth who posted it. He's great for posting
shout out
everything
to
that
Sloth.
comes out. Yeah, Sloth is great.
Can't go get it right.
Tango Gameworks hired Mr. Marius Herman Vicious from none other than Platinum Games. And he was the lead designer, game designer on Bayonetta 3.
Oh, I saw that.
That is, again, another genre that we don't get Bayonetta anymore. It's Nintendo only, right? We get Devil May Cry, but we've seen how that's turned out, right? So Devil May Cry, they didn't get the best edition when it
was
came
actually
over
a good
to
game.
Xbox. It was a great game, game, but they didn't do the best job on this Xbox Series consoles. Tango Gameworks now has the lead game designer of Bayonetta 3. If they move into that space and come out with a Bayonetta Devil May Cry type game,
it's a wrap. It's over. They got me.
Look. It's amazing what they're doing right now. All these little moves on top of the big splashes like Activision Blizzard all point to one thing, which is what we were just talking about. It's something, again, we don't know the plans. We don't know the behind the scenes stuff, but you can see the direction that they're headed. And it's quite impressive what they're doing. I mean, it's unprecedented at this point, what they're doing right now. So can't wait to see.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to go ahead and close the show on that. But just to put a bow tie on it, man, this is the golden age in gaming. Sorry to steal your line, but it's the only way to really explain it. We're absolutely in the golden age of gaming, and things are just heating up. So buckle up. Once again, if go play what you want to play, go buy what you want to buy. You always have that option, but buckle up because we all gonna eat good for the foreseeable future as gamers. So from PC all the way to mobile, we're gonna be eating real good. So make sure you stuff those bellies in the meantime. But we're going to go ahead and wrap the show up, man. We do appreciate every single one for coming out, hanging out, man. This was a phenomenal show. I had so much fun. Chat was lit. Shout out to, just before we go anywhere else, shout out to Spooky, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us, bro. This man has been through so much in the last few months, and I'm just glad to see you, Spooky. So shout out, bro. Glad to see you typing in chat, bro. Prayers and thoughts to you and your whole family, man, that things get better sooner than later for you and your entire family, brother. But glad to see you otherwise, brother. But let me get to our guest here, man. Steele, it's a great pleasure, bro. You brought the energy. I told you it's like having two palms. I didn't know whether or not this was a good idea. I'm be honest. I didn't know. I was like, is this gonna be a good So you don't like it now, Paul?
The coup's back on. The coup's back on. We're taking this place over.
No. That's what I get for speaking up on my own show. This is ridiculous.
That's right.
Oh my goodness. But anyway. No, but it ultimately, bro, it was amazing having you on, bro.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you hanging out, passing along the knowledge, the energy. I'm a big fan of yours, have been for a while now. You support the show as well. We got your brother here, Ebony and Ivory.
Exactly.
Ebony and Ivory on the show. Appreciate that.
There you go.
But either way, bro, let everybody know where they can find you, man. Once again, chat, all his information is down in the description below. Please go follow him. Go show some support. Live in split screen. He'll get into that. Yeah,
100%. Look, you can find me Steel Rain everywhere. It's Steel Rain I. The T is a 7. If it has a search bar, typing in, all of my credentials will come up. If you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, whatever console device you on, that's where I'm at. If you want to hit me up in the DMs so we can talk games or whatever conversation you need some help to some things, hey, I'm here for you. I'm at least in the ear for sure. With that being said, also you can also find me every 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. UK time on a Saturday morning with my brother from another, the uncanny gentleman himself, as I call him, Mr. Pong Soul, on Living Split Screen, where we're gonna do where we just give you that live, raw, and uncut passion, authenticity, and just that organic nature that we can give you, covering everything that's going on in the gaming industry. We definitely say that we're a non-console-centric platform, though it's not my fault that Xbox seems to be dominating the news here recently. So, but yeah, if you guys just want some good energy, high octane, that's what we're here for to get that weekend started. And then, as always, definitely appreciate you, PTK, for having me here again. The invite was outstanding, and I greatly appreciate that. To be in the kingdom with you gentlemen is an outstanding thing. Fuzzy, to sit here with you again, to hear your opinions, man. Again, you just offer something differently, especially you're like the mellow fellow that Pong and Mav got on their side, right? And then PTK, you already know what it is, man. You keep it gaming. You're about that action. It's all about reaching the higher specs. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to reach those 3 billion gamers. That is the impact that we're trying to get to. Not all of us will make it, but whatever we can do to pull each other up and just keep it as gaming as possible and just be real with each other, I think that's going to benefit all of us in the long run. So y'all stay easy, stay blessed, stay godly, and we'll catch you next time.
Appreciate you. Once again, go follow Steel. If you want some high octane, like I said, high energy, super knowledgeable, real gamer, plays everything, no faking. No, we don't do no faking, plays everything, has everything. So go follow him. Appreciate you taking your time, my brother, to hang out with us, man. So thank you once again, chat. You guys are amazing. But let me go ahead and get to my right-hand man here, Mr. Pong Soul, Pong Harvey. It was a good week. It's kind of not even really a down week. I wouldn't call this week even a down week. It was a great week for gaming. Especially following last week, but let everybody know where they can find you. Good energy once again on the podcast, bro, as usual, right?
Yes, sir. PTK, it was a pleasure as always. Fuzzy brothers, you know how much I love being here, and of course, having my brother from another steel makes it extra special with that sauce and that spice. Ooh. So I like it. This is great. Love being here on Saturday nights, and chat was absolutely amazing tonight. And I've been doing it every show, but shout out to Spooky for showing up in chat tonight as well.
Oh, absolutely,
brother, you keep healing up, man.
Yeah.
I've been doing this every show because, man, it's so great to see him around the community. He's got a long road to healing, as he will tell you, but you know what? Just to have him here is also special. So shout out to you, Spooky, but everybody in the chat. Love you all. Love all the support each and every single week for all these shows that we do. We know that you have an opportunity to listen to a lot of people, but you keep showing up here and all the other shows that we do, and we love you for it. So thank you for that. Look, Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter, Tuesdays, Xbox Factor Podcast, Mr. Boomstick, Double Barrel Gaming is the place to go find that if you haven't already. Mr. 10K, he just passed 10K here recently. Shout out to Boom, man. One of the best in the community. So
best, man, for real.
Please, if you have not checked out his content, go do so. But see us on Xbox Factor Podcast, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Archimedes is there. Obviously, Mav when he's available. 3-Bit if he ever gets around to being available again. And now we got Mr. Joanna Dark as well, and myself. So please come check us out. Thursdays, PM in the PM. Pong and Mav in the PM do a 2-man show, much like my brother from Another Steel and I do on Living Split Screen. We just deep dive 1, 2, 3 topics. Last week, though, we had a special show. So if you didn't catch last Thursday's, go back and see it because we did. Mav's been trying to get Colt Eastwood on one of his shows. Colt can't do Friday nights on Xbox Ultimate, so Mav brought him into PM in the PM. So we actually did a extra special show with Colt Eastwood, man. It was awesome. Go check that one out. Otherwise, PM in the PM is every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. Friday nights back on Fun Speculations channel with Xbox Ultimate in the Great 8 over there, or however many of us actually can show up on that show. Again, real life being what it is, we all understand, but we have that, again, all my podcasts are family, right? Extended family. We got a big extended family on Xbox Ultimate. So come check us out. We had a great show with Mr. Badbit. And of course,
shout out to Joe
himself. Yeah, shout out to Joe, but the man himself, PTK, showed up.
Yeah,
it was fun. It was fun yesterday. So please go check out Xbox Ultimate, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. And then the Living Split Screen, you know what it is. You just got a taste of it. Now think about that for 4 hours. 3 hours plus guaranteed.
Not intentional.
No, 3 hours plus guaranteed. But on these big news weeks, man, 4 hours, yeah, that's not out of the question. So come check out me and Steel Saturday mornings, like he said, live, raw, and uncut. This is what you get to wake you up. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time. Split Screen is all one word. We're building a great community over there. Please stop by and check us out. And then, of course, I'll be back here next Saturday night. Golden age of gaming is here. Everybody should realize that by now. Some people are starting to tell me, hey, Pong, it shouldn't be the golden age. It should be the platinum age at this point.
Oh,
You may
wow.
be right. You may be
Did
right.
we just reveal a new tag?
We might have to
The
change that
platinum
tag
age
up.
of gaming?
Wow.
Platinum age of gaming, right? PAG
Oh,
for
man.
short. Let's go.
That's a new tag.
Let's go. So, look, it is special time to be a gamer. Again, I tell you all, don't let anybody bring down your hype and excitement for anything that you're excited about. Look, if you're a mobile player and you're excited that King might be underneath Xbox with Candy Crush, I'm happy for you. Please continue to be excited. Don't let anybody tell you shouldn't be. This is the best time ever to be a gamer. Enjoy it. Play what you love what you play. And I'm going to be talking to you all real soon. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody. Love you.
Appreciate you, Pong. Once again, man, you guys know where to find Pong. It's not hard. Go to Twitter, follow him. That's where everything's happening at. But once again, appreciate you always bringing the energy, man. This week was amazing. Had an awesome time. Obviously, still appreciate you, brother. Let's go ahead and get over to Mr. Fuzzy. This is where we break out the cognac, the good stuff still. It's part of the show.
Okay.
The good stuff comes out. Okay, the Crush Velvet jackets also come out. Yeah, so
we get to live vicariously through Fuzz as a retirement, right?
Nice.
So
exactly.
We get to imagine what it's like through his voice.
Yeah, I wake up every day, I roll over like, I wonder what Fuzz is doing.
Oh yeah. Gaming or sleeping or podcasting.
Exactly.
Man,
Sometimes a little bit of both, as far as
look.
trying to game and sleep at the same time, or sleeping while gaming. But man, this was an awesome show. It was so awesome having Steel on here. So awesome to have Spooky back in the chat. Thank you for coming and join us, and everybody that was in the chat. It was awesome tonight. Man, I you guys know. Gaming's my hobby, and along with being a car enthusiast, this is like the perfect time for anybody that just wants to hear my rambles about, either Forza or Insurgency or any other game out there. You can find me on pretty much all platforms, either Fuzzy_Belvedere or Fuzzy Space Belvedere. On Mondays, you can find me with Mav on Fun Speculations channel for tidbits for the weekly releases, some of those gems that fly under the radar that you may have missed. Try to shine some light on them. And then on Friday mornings, you can catch me on Breakfast with Boom with Mr. Boomstick XL. Sometimes we'll have Mr. Badbit and BitCloud Gaming along with Crispy Bomb and Dreadpool. And that's usually at 10 a.m. Eastern time. And then on Saturday evenings at 6 p.m., you can find me with Mav and Just Key on FSP, Fun Speculation Podcast. Basically all platforms, whether it be Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, or PC. Hey, we have them all and try to, talk about some of the things going on for those. And find me always here every Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time on the Shop Podcast with UPTK, Upong. Sometimes shout out to Centurion 1307.
Shout out Centurion as well.
But man, this is awesome time right now. Gamer Christmas almost pretty much every week with new news and games coming out. And man, February is looking stacked. So I can't wait. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Appreciate you, Fuzz, man, every single week. Thank you so much, brother. Always bringing that extra dimension to the show. So last but not least, your boy PTK Blam. Across the board, as I always tell you guys, Xbox Live, PTK Blam, hit me up on Twitter. Just to follow along with what's going on with the show from week to week, different guests, different topics, different polls of the weeks. Sometimes I throw other things out there. So shout out to everybody watching. I appreciate you guys, man. Hit me up if you guys want to play some games sometimes. Always willing to do that. But other than that, man, enjoy the rest of you guys' week. Once again, just to put a button on this thing, Pong, Golden Age of Gaming. You heard it here, tagline. Oh, we actually gotta put a copyright on that, by the way, Pong.
I know.
So we start giving away money here. So we don't want to keep doing that. But either way, shout out to everybody watching, man. You guys are amazing. Enjoy your weekend. Have fun playing some games. Kick back, relax, get some rest. We'll talk to you guys next week.